Man, a lot has happened since the last time we did a Charlie Brown update video. So we're going to get you completely up to speed of where we're at present day, some future stuff that we're going to do with Charlie. You're going to kind of walk along this journey with us to see what it actually took to get this car to the racetrack. We do this for a living, but every time we do it, it's way more work than I ever remembered it being, and it takes way longer than I ever remember it being. So just a quick shout out to our wives and our families, because they didn't see us for about 2 weeks. But we did it, we made it. Cut to the intro. We knew that there was a lot of things that needed to happen for us to be able to just get to the racetrack. And one of the most important things was to get the car on the dyno. And that may not seem like a big deal to most people, but to be able to go and run the car on the dyno and check all the nitrous tune-ups, just check everything, is such a huge tool. And it really saves you a lot of time at the racetrack to be able to check all this stuff first in a controlled environment, something that you can turn around the car really quick. So we had a push to get it. We had a day that we had scheduled with Haltech, with Eric and the guys, to get the car there. And we had a list that seemed to be constantly growing of what had to get done on the car to get it to the racetrack. Well, that list ended up changing probably a few days before we actually went to the dyno to a list of what had to be done to get the car to the dyno, not to the racetrack, but just to the dyno. So we had to really slim up our list a bit and get it to where it was just the stuff that we needed to run the car on the dyno, which it was a lot of work, man. Brad and I and Brad Arnold and the guy, just everybody, man, really pitched in to get it done. But I don't think that week that we went to the dyno, I don't think Brad and I left the shop before 1 o'clock in the morning at all. You know, we would get off work at 5, which that's kind of sounds funny. You're like, well, you own a race car shop. Well, we work till 5. We work on Charlie. So it was a long week. The guys at Haltech, they were extremely gracious to us. We were supposed to be there, I believe it was on a Thursday morning. Eric really wanted us there at 9, but that night before we loaded up, it was about 1:30 in the morning, and we were still plumbing the fuel system. Come to find out, Brad had ordered everything we needed for the fuel system ahead of time. Well, the fuel rails were a certain size fitting, and Brad ordered 4 of those fittings, and it was on the invoice correct, all that stuff. Well, when we opened the box, it had 3 of the wrong fittings and only 1 of the right. So we were completely shut down at like 1:30 in the morning. We could no longer move forward. So the next morning, thankfully, Dave Hopper, Instacart Racing, he has a speed shop, which it's amazing that there's still a speed shop by us. We went and got the fittings that we needed and was able to finish up the fuel system. So we did not get to Haltech until about 1 o'clock when we were supposed to be there at 9. And also that morning, we went ahead and changed oil in the engine, all that stuff. And Brad was just not feeling this oil filter, okay? It was the right part number. Everything was right about this oil filter, but he just wasn't feeling it. It just wasn't, for whatever reason, it wasn't happy. But we had to get the car down there, and we hadn't even started it. So we got the car to Haltech, unloaded it. Eric helped us, put the base tune-up in it and do all that stuff. And we fired it for the first time. It really, honestly, fired right up.
Go ahead. Plus them plugs have been in there.
But then all of a sudden, there's this huge oil leak, like the Valdez, man. It looked like BP oil. It was leaking everywhere. Well, that stupid oil filter that Brad didn't feel comfortable with was leaking. So ended up having to shut the car down. Heath ran and got another oil filter. And we got it fixed up, and we have a cleaning bill now with Haltech. It was a pretty substantial amount of oil. But we got that worked out and then got it on the dyno. besides the oil leak and us being late, it really couldn't have went any better. Eric killed it, man. Just those guys, it was just a fun experience. The car did everything we were asking it to do. It made killer power. It was super crisp on the two-step. Just everything was awesome. And then getting to learn more about the Haltech and what it can do, and it was just such a great experience, man. We cannot thank those guys enough.
Never put it in his name.
Yeah, I mean,
air fuel looks good though.
that's
solid.
See,
oh yeah, it brought them closer.
I don't even look. You can turn the O2 control and it'll fix that. It'll bring them right together. I don't even care. I mean, that's dude. And I would give it like plus minus 5% limit and just let it go.
Eric, explain what that is. What we did there. I think that's kind of gangster. It worked out really good.
Which bit?
With the bottle heater.
Oh yeah, we've got the bottle. So the Haltech's controlling the bottle heater. We've got a nitrous bottle pressure sensor in the line from the bottle up to the quarter turn valve, and when that bottle's open, the ECU sees pressure, and then it can regulate the bottle heater element, turn it on if the pressure's too low, and turn it off when it gets to the the designated temperature. What do we have it at 1100 psi or something like that? So we've got it up to 1100 psi. That way, when he opens the quarter turn valve, it fills the rest of the line, and then he can purge it down to 1,000 or 950 or wherever you want to run at.
Yeah. Tell them the other thing that you did. For nitrous for dummies, since I don't drive I haven't driven a nitrous car in a while.
So on the purge.
Yeah, the purge.
So there's conditions for the purge to work. So the ECU is controlling the purge. It's controlling everything, but the purge runs through the CAN keypad. But for it to work, one of the two nitrous stages has to be armed, which that'll keep you from ever making a run without.
Because purging's the cool part.
Well, I guess so.
Nobody's going to forget the purge.
I'm a turbo guy. I don't know anything about purging nitrous, but
hey, I'm learning about it.
Actually, I've sprayed almost every car I've ever owned. Matter of fact, I think that one's the only one I've never not sprayed. But yeah, no, you've got to have one of the two nitrous stages armed for the purge to work, and that'll keep you from making a pass without the nitrous on. That keeps you from forgetting to turn the nitrous on, because you're going to hit that purge button. It's not going to do anything unless you've got the nitrous armed.
That's right.
So
we try to make it as dummy-proof as possible. Anything that you can make that stops human error.
Yeah, we trying.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm behind the wheels. It's tough. Yeah.
So when we were leaving the Haltech, we ended up leaving. It was around 12 o'clock that night that we quit. Also, at the same time that we're at the dyno, Jeff Thomas, the promoter of War in the Woods, was making a call whether or not they were going to run that weekend, which obviously we were really hoping that for us, and not for the event, but for us personally, that he was going to push the event back because we were so pressed on time. That day, which was that Thursday, Jeff made the decision he was going to run War in the Woods on Saturday. So that meant that we were leaving 12 o'clock at night on a Thursday with an uncompleted race car from Haltech, and we had one more day to get it together to make it to the racetrack, which was very stressful. Because we're a team that we like, and everybody likes it, but we want to come prepared. We want to have testing under our belt, all that stuff. And I could see the reality of testing just really slipping away from our fingers. But the thing that was more important to us was that we made a commitment to Jeff, and we told him that we were coming to this race. We were going to come. So we woke up really early on Friday, after I think we ended up getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning, and just back on the grind of working on this car. And then shortly thereafter, Jeff made a post that they were going to cancel for the weekend and postpone it. And I think actually I do have my days wrong. We were at Haltech on Wednesday, and then we came back here on Thursday. So Jeff actually canceled the race on Thursday. I'm sorry. So it was a lot of days. but we were just so relieved to get a few more days. Not that we wouldn't have made it, because we would have. We just would have been far less prepared than we were already going to be. Once we figured out that Jeff was going to postpone the race, he had not posted the date yet of when the race was going to be rerun, but we had a feeling that it was going to be the next weekend, just with some conversations and stuff that we had with Jeff. At this point, Brad and I we're running on like no sleep, man. Like I hadn't not slept that much in such a long time, man. I mean, we were tired, and now we had this extra week, so we ended up, we just took some time off, honestly, just to kind of regroup and get fresh mentally, see our families, see my kids. It was just important that we did that. So then we had a week to kind of finish the car up. We still had some tubing that needed installed in the cage, sensors, all that kind of stuff still needed to be done. We needed to glue the windows in it. Just a bunch of like small, like tidy up deals that take way longer than you think they're going to take. So we were able to do that, and then we made a decision. The weather wasn't that great that week, so we wanted to get to Edgewater before we did, but we weren't able to just because of the weather and work commitments and all that stuff. So we ended up rolling into Edgewater Sports Park on Friday to make our first shakedown passes, and then leave from there and go straight to War of the Woods. So we get to Edgewater Sports Park. We actually got there a little later than we wanted to. Surprise. And we're going to make a motor pass. So most people that have a nitrous car, you're going to make a motor pass first, and then we're going to progressively start to go faster. I've never driven this car. I've obviously sat in it a bunch and made race car noises. I'd never been down the racetrack in it, which is funny. Like you go to make a pass first time in a race car, and you should kind of maybe be nervous about that. But I know that we're just taking it down on motor, so I know the car is going to be slow. And slow is such a relative term now. Like it went like, this car could go in the 5s on engine, which is not slow. But for what we normally do, that's slow. So I had to, obviously, we put all of our safety stuff on every time. We do and I'm like belting in and putting this hot suit on, all this helmet, and this is stupid, but it's like, man, I don't even need all this for this for this one, but you do. It's just a stupid thing. But we got to make that first hit. It went just fine. It went about what we thought it would on engine, and we got to come back and then kind of start to go to work to actually have this race car. The couple weird things from that run was Charlie has a bunch of front end travel. It's a no prep car.
Just gotta get used to a different car.
And I'm wondering too because we're gonna run a lot more front end travel in this car. So now after I got back and I was thinking about it, I'm wondering if the steering's always gonna feel a little more lighter to me, because we would only run like the white car or the Camaro. We'd only run like 1 inch of front end travel,
okay.
Because we're always trying to go super fast on a really good racetrack.
Yeah.
So this baby's got like 5 inches in it. Huh. So basically the front wheels are going to extend a lot more, which makes the steering wheel feel a little lighter.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's just a whole different.
It's like riding somebody else's skateboard.
Yeah, we got
a little different at first. You get used to it.
Yeah. Same principle.
Get the feel for.
Same principle. So now we're all getting excited because we get to turn the bottle on, which, again, it's a turd on motor, so she needed some nitrous.
Ooh, what a turd. New nitrous.
So Brad did, make a tune-up and a ramp that him and Heath kind of agreed on and what they thought. And Charlie, I don't want to go into all the nitrous strategy of it because we were trying some stuff, but this was going to be barely any nitrous, not a lot, just enough to kind of make her motor a little better. And Brad did that. And honestly, when I let go of the button, it felt a bit spicier than what I figured Brad would put in it. But it was moving. We were motivating down the racetrack pretty good. It did start to paddle the tire a bit, which normally when a slick tire car does that, the way that it was doing it, it really wanted more horsepower. The tire wasn't happy because it wanted more. And it drove through that for a little bit, and then I ended up lifting just because it was, it was just not happy. Might have drove through it, but that, it was good enough. So that second pass, we went faster than we really thought we would, and that's all to the credit of learning a new car. Like, you have your nitrous strategies, your progressives, all that stuff, but you've never used any of that in actual real time. So you can kind of take an educated guess of how fast you're going to go, but what it actually works out to be is two different things. So it was a bit faster than what we were trying to go. Third pass comes up. We've made some adjustments. Brad changed the tune up a bit. Him and Heath, did put more power in it early. He didn't like that. It was, I don't really want to say the times, but it was motivating pretty good early. But again, it was still paddling the tire more than we wanted. So right before the gear change, I lifted. The other thing that was kind of going on, and this will lead us into our last hit, was when I shifted the car in second and the burnout, it just didn't quite feel like it should have, right? There was just, I don't know, I had a feeling, and I could see the way that Brad was looking at me, like, you're around enough cars, you kind of know like what it should look out like even coming out of the burnout box. And it was just something, that was going on. But anyway, that hit was okay. We still didn't make a full pull to the 8th mile, but we were prepared to make a couple more adjustments, and I felt like the next pass was going to be that full pull to the 8th mile, and we would have some decent data. So now we're rolling up for our 4th hit. I get into the burnout box and I start my burnout, and then it's a big block car, does burnouts awesome. So you get rolling, and then I immediately basically click it in high gear, and Brad gets on the radio and he's like, hey, did you shift to high? And I'm like, well, yeah. And I knew as soon as he said that there was probably something wrong with the transmission, because I was already kind of thinking it from before, and then him getting on the radio saying that, asking me, the reason he was asking me is because the car didn't tire smoke that much. But anyway, we're going to make our hit, leave the starting line. The car felt awesome. It was nice and smooth. So before the first couple passes, it felt more violent than it should have. So like in a race car, smooth is fast. If it's happy and it's reacting the way you want, it's just doing everything in more of a fluid motion. The first couple hits felt jerky. So this deal's feeling smooth. The car's tracking nice and straight. I'm feeling comfortable with the front end travel, the steering, all that stuff. And everything's happy, man. We're motoring down through there. It goes to shift into second and then bangs off the limiter. So then I know, obviously I lifted, put the car in neutral. I knew at this point we have a second gear delete situation, that we no longer have high gear, that for whatever reason it's burned up high gear. So we get down to the end of the track, we're kind of talking, all of us already know, we think maybe, like when Brad was messing with the transmission, he wasn't happy with the detents in it. So like the way it was shifting, he had kind of adjusted it right, but again, he wasn't completely happy. So we got two situations now where Brad's not completely happy, the oil filter and the shifting on this trans. And what happens? Both of them end up biting us, but we didn't really have enough time to address it fully. So we get back, and that's when we have a decision. And this is where I'm really proud of our team of people, man. They literally don't know how to quit. I'm already thinking, I know that Mike Farmer has our old transmission, which the transmission that we used in his car, the Bad Penny, last year was actually out of our white Mustang, and we had sold that to Mike. But he wasn't using it, and I knew where it was. It was perfectly good transmission, and we run a 158 Glide in Charlie, and that's what this transmission was. So for all intents and purposes, it's a direct bolt-in. The other thing I know about Mike Farmer is Mike likes to sleep. And I'm looking at my phone at this point, and it's about 10 o'clock. So I'm like, man, the time is ticking to be able to get a hold of Mike.
Guys' house address? Okay, thank you.
All right, bye.
Mike is asleep. So I tried to call a few times, Mike, and then I called Sam, when Sam called his mom, and she's asleep too.
Oh, was that Sam that you just?
Yeah, so he's gonna send me their address, so we just go beat on their door.
Wake up.
Mike, we're here for the transmission.
Now we already have a plan formulated that Mike has no idea about, that we haven't even talked to him. So,
We're gonna go pick up their spare transmission from Mike Farmer up in Ohio, and then because we're driving my truck, we'll get everything loaded up. Brad and him can go on and head toward Brown County.
Yeah.
We'll go get the transmission, then we'll meet them at Brown County.
And that's where you'll sort it out.
Yep. And either we'll do it tonight or we'll get up real early in the morning and do it before the race.
we leave the racetrack without even talking to Mike. I have his address, thanks to his son Sam, and we just rolled to his house. Now, me and he think that the transmission's actually out of the race car because Mike had pulled the engine and stuff a few weeks ago to bring it back. The engine that's sitting right there, that's our motor out of the white car that was in the bad penny. So when we pulled the motor out, we thought, wow, Mike surely pulled the transmission out. Well, Mike did it. We get there. We knock on his door. Mike comes down in a really awesome outfit. And he doesn't even look surprised to see me. And he knows exactly why we're there, that we need race car parts. So as any good friend would do, he put on his shoes, he opened the garage, and we see the transmission still sitting in the bad penny. Now the motor is out, but we need to pull the drive shaft, stuff like that. So we get to work, and of course Mike helps us. And at this point it's about 11:30. So in about half hour we got the transmission out. It's sitting on the ground, and now we got it in the back of Heath's truck, and we're headed to War in the Woods. The other funny thing that happened was, on the way to War in the Woods, this is a brand new motorhome to us. We've never used it. It was getting a little hotter than we liked. So while Brad and the rest of the boys was waiting on us, they decided to take the motorhome apart. And they gutted the thermostat, did a bunch of stuff at Edgewater, and then hit the road. So as Heath and I are driving to War in the Woods, we actually catch up to them. And we had a real hope that they were maybe already there, and the transmission was already, sitting on the ground. So when Heath and I get there, all we got to do is put it back in. But that's not the case at all. So we drive, we get to War in the Woods, we get to Brown County Dragway. We've never been there before in our lives. I've seen pictures, but as most people say, pictures don't do you justice. It is way smaller, way tighter, not near enough room, more than we ever would have imagined. So we parked, the motorhome's like 40 foot, the trailer's 32 foot, so it's a little bit of a chore to get it in there. You get to the pit area, and we seemed to think it was pretty flat, but it wasn't. We get Charlie unloaded. At this point, it's about 3:30 in the morning, and we know, if we don't get this transmission in tonight, it's not going to get in. We got to do this now. So we get the car out. We start setting up our tent with our lights and stuff. And anytime we build a race car, it's got to be low, man. It's got to sit right. It's got to look right. That makes it a real big pain to get it up on jack stands. And now we're working with let's call it a 30-degree incline. Luckily, we had thrown our race, we have these race blocks that Brad sets up cars on, and luckily we would put them in the trailer. So I'm not kidding when I tell you, it took about an hour to get this deal up on the blocks where we could even change the transmission. It was a mess.
To do an update on what time it might be.
What time do you? Okay, you're on right now, Brad. What time do you think that it is?
I just looked. 4:20. You're close.
What do you got, Andrew?
It's 4:33.
But we got it up in the air. We get the trans out. There are some things that we have to change on the trans we got from Mike. We actually had to drop the pan to change the dipstick and some other stuff. So this isn't, even though it is the same transmission, it's different. We get all that done. We watch the sun come up, which was, you're in trouble when you watch the sun come up. You're like, this is going to be a long day.
What time is it, Andrew?
5:22.
I don't have my phone, sorry.
Let me check it.
It's later than that.
Yeah, I bet it's 6. You can kind of see the sun starting to come up. No.
537.
537.
537.
I'll put that dipstick's behind you, bro.
I'm missing. You didn't give me the.
You need the
Oh, okay.
you need the plate.
No, he needs a grommet out of there.
Out of the tram.
Oh, I see.
Brandon, I have a swivel, but I got a wobble extension.
Oh, I'll do it.
The wobble extension takes out how the wheels. That'll work. Goes right on them.
Get this thing buttoned up, and then we'll go to sleep for a little bit.
So we go in the motorhome and try to lay down for a little bit. Man, I wake up to the sound of people. Like, I could just hear like all these people outside the motorhome, and where we parked was literally front and center because that was the only place we could fit. So I roll out of the motorhome. I don't even know where I'm at. Get out there, and there's like all these people already around the car at 9 a.m. They're like it's like hillbilly Woodstock, man. Like people are rolling in, not around Charlie, but I could just see the gate and the line of people, and I'm like, well, this is it, boys. We're waking up. we're here. We go out, we walk the racetrack. Me, Brad, and Heath, we kind of had a little private moment to do that. And honestly, man, it's way rougher than we thought it would be. Nothing against that facility. I know it's an older place, but it's a little bit out of our comfort zone. You know, like we've had the privilege and the honor to really race at a lot of nice facilities over the last, few years doing the radial stuff. So to go and see how many transitions there are, the different types of surfaces, the consequences of the car moving if you get off that surface, because you basically have two, patches of concrete, asphalt, whatever they had laying around to go down on. And if you drop a tire off, it's just, there's not a lot of room for error. So we have a car that at this point has, 4 hits on it. I have 4 hits in the car, and we're taking it to the sketchiest surface that I've ever seen. And that's where Heath is Heath, man. Like, I love that dude, man. He is awesome. And, we can talk crap, we can be that, like, man, we're here to win, like, which we are. Like, we want to do well.
This is the man right here, dude.
That's my electric bill.
He's about to get rich. He's gonna be buying conies for all of us.
But all that fails in comparison to the journey that you have to get to the racetrack with all these people you love. And had a conversation with Heath of, hey, homie, if you're not comfortable and you don't want to send this thing down the racetrack, we'll hang out today. We won't do it. We don't have anything to prove to anybody. We can load it up and go home right now if that's what you want to do. I appreciate that so much as a driver, as a team. We have the best people, man. We really do. But I felt like, I can make good decisions as a driver. If the car, if it spins, if it does anything stupid, I'm lifting, I'm done. We said we were going to be there, and we said we were going to send it down the racetrack, and that's what we're going to do. We are going to send this thing down the racetrack. So now we're getting ready for this first round for really a surface that we're unprepared for, a car that we don't have as much time on as we want. And there's a lot of stress as a driver. To kind of unpack my brain a bit, like, I don't really worry about myself that much, and that sounds silly, but like, I wear everything that I possibly can wear. We've built a really safe race car. Like, this is a 25X chassis. It has head supports. I got my Hans on. I have everything that I can do to be safe. So if something bad does happen, I feel confident in our equipment to keep me safe. I do. But what I think about is I can replay in my brain the weeks and the months and all the time and energy and money that we've put into this deal to make it here. And now they're trusting me to navigate this car down the racetrack that has all of our blood, sweat, and tears in it. That's a pretty serious responsibility. The other thing I look at is I'm watching Brad. Brad is one of the best tuners, in my opinion, in the country, right? He's my partner, but he is gifted, man. And to watch him, I know that we're feeling very similar things, right? Because he knows that he's put in, and he may not say it, but he loves me, right? He's putting me in this race car to get it down this racetrack, and it's his responsibility to put the tune-up in it that's going to get it down through there, so that to make my job as easy as possible. He doesn't want me to have to pedal it. He doesn't want me to have to steer it any other way but straight, and he wants a nice clean hit. Brad walked up and down that track and walked up there more times than I can count. He had his laptop open more than he normally does. And I could just see the stress of like, man, we gotta make a good decision. So we roll up and we're in line, and it actually started raining. We were last pair down. Racing a guy from Chicago that I never met. He was so nice. It starts raining. I'm already sitting in the car. We have to go back to the pit area. That kind of sucks because you're like already revved up, kind of like, all right, we're going down the racetrack, and then it's a whole pause. And then they dry the track, we come back up. And we were in the worst of the two lanes, in my opinion. The right lane the starting line was a lot worse than what the left lane was. We knew that going in, but we had a plan. We wanted to do a pretty long burnout to get past, like try to fill in some of these, like basically the concrete was peeling up really bad. So wanted to do a long burnout, and then as I backed up, Brad Arnold and Andrew were gonna clean the tires off, try to get the concrete chunks and stuff off the tires. And that's what we did. We left the starting line, the car for the right lane. I felt like we were making a pretty decent hit with all things considered. And then probably about 100 foot out, it did lose a tire on one of the 17 transitions. And, I steered it. I did not pedal the car. I did not try to recover, just because that was our plan, right? If it lost a tire, we're done. We're putting Charlie in the trailer to race another day. That's exactly what we did. We put him back in the trailer. We didn't go for the second chance race. We didn't do anything. We felt like we filled our commitment to Jeff to say that we were coming and we were going to make a hit. We did exactly what we said we were going to do, but we know when it's time to quit. So obviously War of the Woods didn't go exactly the way that we wanted to. I was hoping to walk out of there with a big pile of money, but that's not what happened. The journey to get there was awesome. Our team never quit. We never do, man. We overcome. So I'm just so stoked on that. Special shout out to Martin Conley and Eric Gash. They lived up here for 2 days wiring this race car. Would not stop until it was where it needed to be. The receptiveness of Charlie Brown when we got to the racetrack was honestly something to witness, man. I knew that Charlie was cool. I love it. But to watch everybody else love the race car was awesome. Just the little kids that came up that loved Charlie Brown,
the car just took my soul when he left off.
Took the soul?
Yep.
You felt it, huh?
Yep.
In your body?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. That's a cool car, huh?
Yep. I used to watch Charlie Brown when I was little.
Charlie Brown? Yeah, Charlie Brown, cool, man.
That's why I like the car.
He cool with nitrous too.
Thank you.
That's what's worth it, man. Like that journey of meeting all these new people, the no prep community. I mean, they know like we drag radial race. That's what we've done. And all the drivers and all the guys that actually do this to come up and just be so cool to us and just really like let us fit right in was awesome, man. And honestly, like I'm hard on ourselves. Like I wasn't happy with our first round hit. I was not happy. I knew we could do better, but so many drivers came over and teams that were like, and just impressed with how far the car made it. you know, just giving us props for what little bit that we did accomplish. That was so awesome. So we're committed to no prep racing now. Like, we're gonna figure this deal out. We're here to stay. We are going to Columbus No Prep Kings in a couple weeks. We'll be there. We'll have a whole bin of shirts again because you guys bought every shirt that we brought with us to the racetrack. It was unbelievable how many people bought t-shirts. And just, man, thanks for going on this journey with us. And you're gonna keep going with us, right? Ricky's gonna document all of our deal. Super excited to go to No Prep Kings. It's probably a little more familiar for what we're used to doing. We're gonna be on a national event racetrack, and the track obviously is gonna come around a little bit better. So I feel good about it, man. But we're coming with a big block nitrous car, and we're gonna run some twin turbo big blocks and Pro Charge big blocks and all that stuff. So we're a little outgunned in the horsepower department, but we like a challenge. It'll be fun. So thanks for liking and sharing and subscribing and all that stuff that you guys do. And man, thanks for the comments. We love, it's so appreciative. And thanks to the people that come up at the racetrack and say thank you, whatever you do. We appreciate you. See you.